Just ring up Christopher
Thank you for
Browell.
calling Bradford District Care NHS Foundation Trust. Your call is important to us and will be answered by our next available administrator. Please note that your call may be recorded for monitoring and training purposes. All of our administrators are busy at the moment. Please hold the line and we will answer your call as soon as possible. Unfortunately, we are still busy. Please continue to hold. Unfortunately, we are still busy. Please continue to hold. access your to Shasta. How can I help?
Oh, good afternoon, Shaftak. This is Mr. Hussain. It's regarding my brother, Mr. Talib Hussain, and I would like you to put me through to Mr. Christopher Browell.
Okay. Can I just take the date of birth for your brother?
Yeah, it's 15/9/1960.
Yeah, can you confirm the first line of the address for me, please?
Yes, 20 Primary Way.
Thank you. Just waiting for the record to load up. Right, I'm just going to try the number for you now.
Oh, hi, Mr. Browell. How are you doing?
I'm okay. You okay?
Yes, I'm okay. Thanks for taking my call. I know we did have a conversation last week, but we've not really resolved anything, and I'm really looking to find some sort of resolution to the numerous outstanding issues. I did leave them with you. I'm just getting, obviously frustrated that I can't really resolve anything, and these issues are like obviously getting out of control now. And as you can appreciate, like everybody else, we're struggling with the cost of living crisis, and I'm just conscious of the fact that it's our religious festival of Eid coming up, and nothing's been resolved. So I think I need to speak to somebody else. If you're not the most appropriate person, but I don't know who else to speak to, because nobody's looking to engage with me. As you're aware, I made a freedom of information request. That's not been appropriately handled with, and we're just suffering in isolation here, and I don't think it's necessary because obviously I need to be in the best position to assist my brother, which I'm presently can't do so. Hence why I'm ringing yourself up again, because on the one hand, I mean, as you can appreciate, the primary issue of concern other than the finances is securing Talib to have like cooperation from the GPs. Now I've emailed them nearly every day saying, look, I need to speak to somebody, but they're refusing to speak to me. So I'm just at a loss of how best to resolve out the outstanding issues. And in addition to his GP, like just to highlight, in addition to his access to GP services or NHS services, because as you can appreciate, I'm having to fund his incontinence pads. He was entitled to free NHS incontinence pads. He's not been receiving them, so it's not in our financial interest, or not in my financial interest, to have this situation perpetuated, because he has daily costs. I have to take him out regularly. You're not providing us with any mobility vehicle, which would have been the option open to us previously. Because he's got disability living allowance to meet his social care issues, so he's not socially isolated. I take him out regularly. I take him swimming. I take him out, and obviously there's a cost associated with the incontinence pads. There's food costs. There's obviously, so those are like some of the issues regarding costs and NHS services. There's also an outstanding tax liability, council tax liability, that's not being resolved. Our housing situation is not being resolved. And obviously, I'm just in desperation trying to contact you to try and find out, how we can progress forward with this matter, rather than just simply sitting on the sidewalks and waiting for a crisis to happen.
Well, we've gone over this probably several times. Is that that although the money is in appointeeship, there is money there that Alec could access. With regards to the GP surgery and Oldham, that's not really anything that I can have any influence on. And similar with the housing matter, I can ask, whether my manager will speak with you, but again, I can only ask if they'll speak with you. It doesn't mean that they will do. I'm not sure what else to say.
Okay, well, with respect, I mean, obviously, you're saying you're not in a position to influence the GPs. Is that what you said?
Yes, yes.
Okay, but now, obviously, when it's a crisis situation looming, you're saying that you're not in a position to influence the GP. But in the past, I have it on record that, not you personally, but obviously your team, because obviously, as you can appreciate, you have a small role, and you're not even sure what your role is. But obviously, you work. You don't work in isolation. You, the Bradford Council, have on numerous previous occasions when it has served your interest, contacted the GP services. And I remind myself that, Vicina Brown had telephoned the GP services and asked for a call back, and obviously had a quite lengthy conversation, which was then later disclosed to me. So, when it serves your agenda and purpose and it's in your best interest, and when I say yours, I don't mean you personally, obviously, I mean the authorities, particularly Bradford Council and the, District Care Trust. So when it's in your interest to do so, you will go out of your way to contact, influence, interfere, sabotage, and stonewall our relationships with the GP practices. And that's, as I've explained, been documented on numerous occasions in both my mother's case and in my brother's case. So when it serves your agenda, you can contact the GP practices. And it, like, obviously, when there were safeguarding concerns while there were ongoing concurrent proceedings in order to destabilize the family, it was in your interest. So you did the collective you did contact the GP practices then, and I remind you that this was around about October, November, December, the time that you personally came onto this case where safeguarding issues were raised, and you had travelled all the way to Oldham. So when it was in your interest, and there obviously were no safeguarding issues, because obviously I have to ask myself what was particularly happening around about October, November, December time in 2021, just before my mum was murdered, that what was happening that necessitated the safeguarding. Because as you can appreciate, me and my brother were made homeless, residing with our sister in Oldham at the time. So what was the safeguarding? And then all of a sudden nothing happened. So it was at a time when it was in your interest, because at that stage you were looking to forcibly get my brother assessed by Dr. Nicholas Todd, who had also been involved in my mum's case. So it was in your interest to basically get Talib access to Talib and raise false flags. Obviously, the relationship with the GP practice at the time at Sun Valley broke down. I believe the police were called. There was a police check carried out. I remember this occasion because a police officer was insisting on coming to do a welfare check. I allowed him into the property under duress, and as a result, obviously, he saw that my brother was fine. But there was some shenanigans going on just before my mum, died under unusual circumstances, and that was the start of your involvement. So at the time when it served your interest, when the matter was in court, when obviously my brother's been discharged, you will go out of your way, as the collective local authority, to do what is necessarily in your best interest. But now we're left in a situation where you're saying that, oh no, it's up. Now, do you accept the fact that you keep on, when it serves your purpose, you say, me and Talib are different people, I'm not your client, Talib is your client, all right, or the local authority has your duty of care to my brother Talib and not to me, all right, that's fair enough. But practically speaking, what do you expect Talib to do? Talib can't even go to the toilet. All right, I have to cut up his food to give it to him. He's completely reliant upon myself. What do you want him to do? What is the expectation that you want to give him money? What is he going to do with the money? If this person can't even go to the toilet, if the person can't even needs assistance with cutting up his food to help him eat, all right, in addition to all his mobility issues, it's very, very patronizing and condescending to say the fact that there's money available to Talib. Which money? There's no vehicle available.
He's carer, and as you say, he's advocate. So they for you to support Talib how to spend that money.
Yes, I understand this, and that would, and once again, Mr. Browell, with respect, I think that's a very like a condescending statement to make. Of course, I'm his carer, and of course, I would assist him, and of course, I have been doing that from day one. But you're failing to recognize the fact that in the past, I've been doing the very same thing, helping my brother, helping and assisting my brother secure services from yourself, and you've criminally convicted me and put me into prison, and so therefore, you personally can say to me that, oh, you're his carer and you should assist him, but the reality is that you, the local authority, won't legally recognize me as his carer. So I mean, let me just give you a perfect example of this. I think you became involved in Talib's case since November 2021. We're now in April 2023, several years later. To date, Mr. Browell, you've not written out to me directly, have you?
I think I might have sent. There might have been a letter. I think I might have sent a letter to you and to Talib, something like that, or care of for your attention of Talib.
Yes, for the attention. You've written letters to Talib, so on paper, you're not recognizing me. Effectively on paper, you're not recognizing me as his carer, where you will not be even. But it is perfectly correct that I've sent you numerous emails, haven't I?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
And you've not replied to one of those emails. You've not sent me one single email, have you?
No.
Yeah,
no.
that's right. Yes. So the fact that that email account, even though it says Talib Hussein Primary at gmail.com, it's an email account that I own, I own and operate on behalf of my brother. So when I'm acting on behalf of my brother and myself in order to engage with you via email, you've chosen not to reply to any of those emails. However, what you've chosen to do is write letters under instructions, and address those letters to Talib. All right, when I've told you that Talib, and you know fully well Talib can't even read something. So, it's very, very, basically what's happening here, Mr. Browell, is that you're looking to basically stand on two opposite ends of an argument. Either I'm my brother's carer, in which case I represent him, I act on his behalf, I'm doing everything for him. But you, the local authority, cannot accept that because you've criminally convicted me of being his carer effectively. And so now, obviously you want hence what there's a discontinuity between what you're saying and what you're doing. What you're doing is you're trying to engage Talib directly, and you're trying to say that Talib can do things himself within my absence. And that's exactly what's happened, on the start of January, where, you, the local authority, have interfered in court proceedings which you were not even a party to regarding the housing association. And the housing association had then effectively, are you telling me, look, come on, Mr. Browell, you're an intelligent person. The housing association is paying over £500 to get a capacity assessment carried out on the day when at court they're agreeing to this. Why would they be paying that cost? All right, it's obviously under your direction, the local authority's direction, because it's in local authority's interest to get a mental capacity assessment done. So that's what we attempt. Even though I objected and try to prevent that from happening, I had to allow it to happen because you, the local authority, had instructed the judges to sign off on an order that would have got me penal notices to me to ensure that I take my brother Talib to get a mental capacity assessment carried out. He was not even in a position to understand the concept of using a phone. So you understand, it's ridiculous because what you're saying to me on the telephone is not what you're willing to write to me. Are you willing to write out to me and say to me, we recognize you as your brother's carer and we will look to engage and act with you only? You're not looking to do that. You're not looking to respect my brother's wishes and engage with me on his behalf, are you? Formally.
I personally am. Yeah, I personally am. To write a letter like that, I'd be happy to write that. I'd probably have to clear that with someone or something, but I don't have a problem with writing that letter, not at all.
I know, Mr. Browell, you don't, but is it not correct that you received instructions from your managers not to engage with me via email?
I don't know if that was from managers. I think that was. I don't know if it was my managers or trust managers. It was to not reply to emails. I think generally, Shazad, I think that's the thing. It's like opening a can of worms, isn't it? It's a little bit like the Oldham GP scenario, you know. And you know, I'm kind of talking off the record. I would assume that, you know, if the GP surgery did provide the medical records, then that would cause about 100 different more problems, and that's the way it kind of works. Is that you kind of push to get for people to kind of abide by your request, and that just causes a lot more problems. And you might say from your side that that's warranted and that's right, but from another alternative viewpoint, it's just kind of causes problems where it's not necessarily seen as it's legitimate problems.
Okay, well, you know, thank you for that. Thank you for your your direct approach. Yes, I agree with you. When I make a request, or when I even spoken to you, like even having this conversation can open up a can of worms, because you know you could say something, and you've often said things that I've picked up on and said, well, that's not right, and that obviously requires further. Yeah, okay. But can you understand the problems that I'm creating or can be created with your effectiveness, openness, and transparency? Will open up, have repercussions, let's say, have more problems. I agree with you fully, but those problems are directed at you, namely the authorities, or namely public organizations. So those problems are basically, let's just list them. So that's problems to the GP practices that have interactions with us. That's problems to the healthcare services, the NHS. That's going to have problems for the social care services. I agree with you, those are problems. But can you understand, that's my job, that's my role. All right, you know, as a citizen and as somebody who's representing Talib. So there are going to be problems if you effectively engage with me. There are going to be problems, because those problems are not just down to me being a problematic person. Those problems are down to a societal issue, and that societal issue, Mr. Browell, with honesty and transparency, you're fully aware of that. There's something called a social care crisis. Do you agree with me that there's a crisis in social care?
I think there's a crisis in a lot of government services,
yes,
and local government services.
But with regard focusing in on adult social care, if you agree with me there's a crisis in adult social care, would you be able to indicate to me when did that crisis start?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm afraid, no.
Would it be fair to say that that's over a decade or more than 10 years?
I suppose so, yeah.
Okay, well, I can tell you from my personal experience that the social care crisis has been going on for, at least in my family circumstances, since 1983. And the problem lies in this, that the local authority do not have the provisions in place to meet with adult social care. More importantly, more than adult social care, there's child social care, which, as you're fully aware of, that the local authority, Bradford Council, is now gone into administration effectively in child social care, and that right and that license or that ability to look after children has been taken away from Bradford Council and given into a trust. Okay, and that's obviously a net good benefit, isn't it? Because obviously if the local authority are failing to meet with the child care needs, then obviously that's endangering vulnerable children, isn't it? So coming back to the aspect of you saying, well, when we engage with you, Mr. Sen, and we provide you with some information, that causes a whole lot of problems for us. Okay, fair enough. So you don't have any problems and you're not going to engage with us. But can you understand, conversely, when you're not doing that and you're saving on problems for yourself, are you not effectively creating more problems for Talib?
You know, my own personal view is that a lot of them aren't legitimate problems.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
And so I wouldn't see the point in kind of adding fuel to the fire without a very good reason.
Okay.
And for example, like me personally contacting a GP in Oldham, it's not really part of my business. You might have said that maybe the local authority or people have contacted the GP in Oldham in the past. That was when Talib was living in Oldham, but he isn't living there now. So I don't see why I would be contacting that GP service and saying, please release medical records, Talib's medical records, when that's their decision.
But so all right, let's just look at it. You're saying most of the concerns or the problems that I'm stating are not legitimate. They are effectively artificially created by me because of my own personal agenda. Is that what you?
No, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. But as I've said before, there's a you're entitled to your opinion and your requests and concerns. As I've said before, there's a limit to what I can help with. Because that's the point. That's why as I've said, things have been at a standstill for a long time. So.
But the problem here lies with. Let's just be honest about this, because there's a distinction between when I say you as an individual, and then you as the care coordinator, and you as part of this joint enterprise between the city mental health team, which is part of the trust and the social services, and then you as being as being the council. So when there's a when you say I, there's a it's not a singular, it's a spectrum of eyes, isn't it? It's like what you can do in your limited role, what and often this happens because, can you understand, Mr. Browell, you're not a person in the sense, like, obviously you're a person and a human being, but in this context, I'm a citizen, or I'm a legal, I'm a natural person. You're not a natural person in the context that I'm speaking to you with, because you're not a citizen right now. You're part of a corporation, and when you say I can't do anything, you're saying that I personally, as an individual, can't do something. But that individual role or remit, you're not even sure what your role or remit is of what you can do, because that's not been clear to you. But when I'm speaking in the abstract you, namely you, the local authority of which you are a part of. And so it's that one thing when you say I don't recognize that your problems are legitimate. I'm not sure whether you're saying that I, as the person that's been speaking to you as a care coordinator, don't recognize your problems, or somebody senior is, or somebody, because obviously the local, there's a discontinuity between your own personal opinions about speaking to me, and what the local authority's personal opinion is, and what actions they are taking. So there's that whole confusion there. So, like, for me, there's no distinction between me and my brother. All right, me and my brother are one. All right, me and my brother Talib, we are on the same agenda. We have the same opinions. All right, so there's no difference. So if I say something that we don't want to meet the authorities, that's the same coming from Talib, because I've got Talib's legal authority or his personal authority to do so. Now, what the problem lies in this, that the problems that you're refusing to recognize, that can be argued that I'm artificially creating. And then the question arises is that why would I be artificially creating problems effectively that are endangering my brother's life and then placing me in financial ruin effectively? And that is basically, look, can you understand that right now, as an example, my brother needs, he needs incontinence pads. He was previously getting incontinence pads. That's a free service on the NHS. He requires numerous I need to change his incontinence pads several times a day. All right, we were getting supplies from the district nurses to provide, and that was being commissioned out by the district nurses and paid by the NHS and Bradford district nurses to supply us with incontinence pads. That's not happening, ever since we left here. All right, because of the change of GPs. So now I'm having to fund his incontinence pads. Now, why would I be doing that? A cost to myself, basically, creating a problem, as you would say, when the solution is available to me, namely register with the GP here back in Bradford, register like with the district nurses, and you can get free incontinence pads. But why would I be doing that? And obviously, you're saying that's an artificial problem that I've created. And my motivation, you can make an argument, is that, because I want to get paid my £1 million a week. All right, that's why I'm creating artificial problems. But I can assure you that it doesn't matter about the artificial problems or not artificial problems. My costs are fixed. I've made that very clear. I could equally get the money from you right now for Talib, and my costs would still be fixed, because my costs are not nothing to do with these artificial problems that are being created, as you would argue they're artificial. My costs are fixed because of my labor costs. All right. Now, with regards to the problems that you're not recognizing, is that, look, it is accepted that my brother, is entitled to money. You accept that he's got accumulated money, yes?
Yeah.
And he can have access to that money, yes?
Yes.
Okay, but do you accept that he can't have access to the money directly?
Yes. Now that there's an appointeeship in place, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, all right. No, but not the appointeeship. All right, that's the DWP money that you're talking about. But his access to money. But you know, like basically, look what's happened. I've reviewed some of my old footages recently, and your records will show you, because if you have your records in front of you, is that me and my brother were made homeless on the 19th of February 2021. All right, we were basically kicked out of the house. On the 22nd of February 2021, both Baljit Nota and Fungai Machichitiri went to see my brother in Oldham. I was not there. Talib had a direct communication with Baljit and Fungai, and he directly said, I don't want my money, I want you to give it to my brother. Right? So they went there directly, and I've got a recording of this, and I'm happy to forward this recording on to you to show you the fact that my brother's made it very expressly clear that he does not want to deal with money. All right, he does not want to engage with you. All right, he's told them to fuck off several times. Okay, and put me in charge, put me into this position. Now, you're not looking to recognize my role. All right, that is the problem here, because you know I'm not creating artificial problems, because if you and when I say not you personally, but obviously you, the local authority, can provide, look to recognize me as my brother's formal carer under his authority, then that negates your criminal conviction. With respect, Mr. Browell, you're saying we don't recognize your problems. The problems exist as a consequence of you criminally convicting me. You remember, I've not been criminally convicted for like frauding somebody else. I've been criminally convicted for frauding Talib amongst other family members. That is the problem. It is you that have created these problems, because how are you reconciling that on the one hand you've criminally convicted me of being Talib's carer, and now you're asking me to be his carer? That's the problem, no?
But that's a spent conviction. I don't see you, like, if you were provided and Talib was provided with a birth card, I would seek assurances and a letter to say that if money gets put on that card, that you can spend that for Talib's best interest. For the appointeeship's in place, and then you've got Talib would have access to that money by yourself, and I don't see why that should be. I think it's almost paranoid thinking to think that would be a problem. I don't see no other way that it would work.
Okay, all right. Well, the thing is, you're saying is paranoid thinking, but is it not factually accurate that not the money that we're talking on, the money that you're talking about now that you want to put on a card is effectively DWP pension, work and pension money, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's money that my brother was already receiving. I was an appointee for. What about the fact that when you're telling me I'm paranoid, what about the fact that where is the social care component of his money going?
I'm not sure.
All right, so let's just put this around. So in addition to his DWP benefit money, Talib was also receiving £410.70 in social care money that you were effectively giving Talib, all right, but were effectively tasking me with it. So, when you're saying paranoid, with due respect, history and personal experience has proven to be the case that you, the local authority, will do this. You will act with criminal intent. Because why have I been criminally convicted of the fact that you, the local authority, were paying him not his DWP benefit money then? Remember, this all kicked off. All right, it's not something that's happened now. Obviously, it's before your time. I can tell you that this happened in July 2012. Over 10 years ago, when effectively you, the local authority, were asking Talib or me to provide you with an audit of his with his data or with his records of direct payments that you, the local authority, had been paying out for 5 years since 2006. All right, so sorry, maybe for 5-6 years, and you had not audited public money. All right, and when you had asked for the information from me effectively by proxy or from Talib, we refused to disclose that information to you, and then we were going to whistleblow and go public on the fact that you, the local authority, had been paying out untaxed public money and not auditing it. That was a failure on your part. So can you understand when you say the fact that this is a paranoid paranoia, it is not paranoia, you've already convicted me of defrauding my brother money that you, the local authority, were obligated to pay him under direct payments of social care. That social care money now, £410.70, all of a sudden you no longer have to pay that anymore. All right, that's all just disappeared. In addition to this, not only have you, basically embezzled the £410.70 since July August 2012, you're now obviously embezzling his the DWP benefit money. In addition to looking to take over a property that's in my name that was my brother transferred over to me under trust. So not only are you doing all this stuff, but recently, coming back to when you came on board in October, November time in 2021, you, the local authority, have issued out a card to him. All right, the exact card that you're saying. All right, a benefit card. I took that benefit card to the police station. I told them, look, this is what they're trying to do. Within days, you've made a report to the police that, obviously he's embezzling, and you've reported the matter to the police. So you're effectively framing me, all right, by asking me to get the card, all right, so when you can make the allegation at any time 10 years later that money I have to justify how I spent it on Talib. All right, and you can. So we've already gone through this. So in hindsight, Mr. Browell, you can fool me once, shame on me. You can't fool me over and over again with the same old tactics. All right. Number one, the money that you're receiving in DWP benefit payments is fraudulent because my brother's not consented to it. My brother, you've done this by buying off the judges. You've done by buying off the very same judges. I'll tell you exactly which particular judges in this case. District Judge Beckley at the High Court in London. The local authority have bought his services off. That has resulted in my mother's murder. All right, and that has now also resulted in you becoming in charge of Talib's finances. So these issues are not resolving themselves, and these problems, obviously, you're saying that I'm creating, is as a result now Talib's suffering and not got any money. We've told you on numerous occasions that effectively you're not giving Talib the money, you're giving me the money, effectively. All right. So what?
I think there would be a way, to my mind, there'd be a way around that, Shazad, because the appointeeship is in place. The OPG are asking how the appointeeship is going and is Talib getting any of his money. To me, it'd be a win-win situation if Talib was given money and the appointeeship was in place. And I would do everything I could for you not to be double-checked. It's Talib's money, you're his main carer, and Talib should be in possession of that money by himself.
Okay, but how are you the question is not Talib should be in possession of that money. That is an undeniable fact. That's Talib's money. But how is it that you've got the money? How is it that, obviously, the money that you were talking about here, let's just be clear which aspect of money we're talking about. We're not talking about a social care money that you were paying through direct payments. We're not talking about that money. We're not talking about the money that over 90 or 100,000 pounds that you criminally convicted me and then given to Adalat. All right, we're not talking about that money. We're specifically talking about his legal entitlement rights to his, state benefit money, which is the Department of Work and Pension Benefit money. The question is that if Talib was, if that's Talib's money, how come Talib is not receiving that directly? That is the question.
So that's what's out of my control. It was already going through the courts regarding the appointeeship, and that was in place. I don't know the details of why that appointeeship was put in place, but now it is. The OPG are wanting to like it to run smoothly, and that's what the money's there for. Is for Talib to be given access to it. Not unfettered access, but
this is the thing, you see. You can't say the fact that, it's kind of antagonistic and patronizing to me for you to say that, well, that's something that happened before me. I'm not bothered about that. I'm trying to explain to you that there is no let's just make it very, very basic. Let's forget all the money. Are you, the local authority, prepared to put in writing that you accept my brother has mental capacity?
Not without.
That's it. That's it. No.
I would have thought not without actually seeing.
You don't need to see him, all right? Because that would be the day. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that today you come down and you do a mental capacity assessment, and as a result of that mental capacity assessment, you determine that Talib lacks mental capacity. You cannot say retrospectively lack mental capacity, can you? You can only make the assumption that he lacks mental capacity on the day that we assessed him. So from today onwards, he lacks mental capacity. All right, and this whole aspect of money, social care, all comes down to the fact that he has been assessed by me at a personal cost when he was in August 2021 that he has mental capacity by an external agency. So can you understand that? Okay, is it the fact that for you to state that my brother has mental capacity, the Bradford Council, need to come out and carry out an assessment. Is that correct?
It depends on the issue. As you're aware, it was going through courts and a capacity assessment was requested. So in that case, on that particular area, it was decided that a capacity assessment is required.
Okay, so that assessment went through the courts. Was that capacity assessment completed?
As far as I'm aware, no.
Okay, so that mental capacity assessment got a court order in February 2022, which was last year. So that did not happen. And then as a result of that not happening, my brother has clearly articulated that. Do you accept the fact that my brother Talib, is he under any legal obligation to be part of a mental capacity assessment to be carried out? Is he obliged to do so?
I don't know enough about it. I would have thought, unless it's maybe a part of a court order, then I wouldn't have thought so, no.
Everybody has a right to refuse, innit? I can't force you to carry out. I can't force to carry out a mental capacity assessment on you, can I? If you don't want to, no. And that's the same for everybody, isn't it?
I think it's a difficult one, because if someone was putting themselves at risk and their capacity was in doubt, then that person might need a capacity assessment.
You've worked in the medical profession, or you work with my understanding, and correct me if I'm mistaken here, everybody has a right to refuse. So I can refuse to have blood tests. I can refuse to. Is it not correct that me myself, if I have a right to refuse any medical treatment that would save my life?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So it's right, isn't it? So as long as I have mental capacity, I have the right to refuse treatment that would effectively save my life. Yes?
I think so, yeah.
So that it all comes down to me having mental capacity. That right is afforded to everybody. Is that right not afforded to Talib?
I'm not a lawyer, a solicitor. I think it is afforded to Talib.
Yes.
However, I'm not sure what the case is when there's a court order that's decided
Yes.
that a person.
But the court order, as you can appreciate, that I'm trying to scream out this to you, is that the only way that you got the court orders, in fact everything in relation to myself or my brother or my family, the only way that you've got this is because you, the local authority, buy off the judges. All right, that's a fact. Because otherwise, and it's not just District Judge Beckley or even now District Judge Wilcox, the issue in November 2022 regarding the Housing Association. You, the local authority, buy off the judges. And as a result, the judges have immunity from prosecution. So this is part. Let me explain to you. I know you're not a lawyer or a solicitor or in the legal profession. This is a flaw in the system that the local authority are exploiting. So basically put, the law as it stands states that any judge should be given, because there should be an impartiality between the judiciary and the executive and the legislative branch. Any judge in any courtroom cannot be prosecuted for a ruling that they've made in court. Okay, so that opens up the avenue of the judges being be bribed or bought off, and this is one of the reasons that I say that all the judges are effectively prostitutes to the local authority, because they're selling out their services. Now, in my personal experience, and as you can appreciate, I've gone to the police on this matter, I've sought my own legal advice on this matter. Judges effectively cannot be prosecuted for the decisions that they make. And because judges are human beings and prone to corruption, they often and do, and in particular circumstances, are being bought off. All right, that has resulted in my mother being murdered. That has resulted in me being falsely incarcerated and put into prison. All right, and that's resulted in all our money, all my personal money being taken away from me. So this is the reality that we're living through. That you, the local authority, buy off the judges. So in order to achieve your outcome and objectives. So when you say to me that there's a court order in place, it has literally no value because that was just created through basically you, the local authority, draft the orders and get the judge to rubber stamp them and no doubt have a quid pro quo relationship with them. And I know that's a factual case in my brother Talib's case. So, the problem here lies in the fact that to date, can you establish, alright, well, let me rephrase it. Can you establish today, no, has it been established up to date that Talib lacks mental capacity?
With regards to?
No, anything. Up to today. So today is the 17th of April 2023. Can you tell me that in any time, give me a date when it has been established anywhere that in the past that my brother lacks mental capacity in any domain? Yeah, anything that says that he lacks mental capacity. Because even
after there is an appointeeship in place, I would say that a decision has been made that he lacks mental capacity with regards to his finances.
When was that decision made? No, a decision has been made, but when was that decision? That decision, are you talking about the court order that you gave that came out to us in October 2022?
I think so, yeah.
So that court order was made without there being a mental capacity assessment carried out.
Right.
So how can a court order make a decision? How can somebody make that? That in itself is clearly evidence of fraud, innit? You've got a court order saying that decisions been made that somebody lacks mental capacity. When I presented it with the capacity assessment, and that was not considered, and no alternative capacity assessment has been carried out. How can that? You tell me. Then you're an intelligent person. How can a decision be made on somebody's capacity without a capacity assessment?
It's my understanding that there was a capacity assessment.
When was that because I've just explained to you an attempt was made to have a capacity assessment carried out in February 2022 as a result of a court order with penal notices. So that happened, like my mum was murdered in January 2022. A court order was put in place for Talib to have a mental capacity assessment carried out in February 2022. All right. As a result of that, he became so distressed he ended up in hospital. So there was no capacity assessment carried out in February 2022. I presented the courts and the parties and everybody a capacity assessment that stated that my brother does have mental capacity of August 2021. A court order was made, a decision was made in May, 3 months later in May 2022, which was first presented to me in October 2022, which you came to deliver to Talib and myself through the letterbox in December 2022. So when exactly was the capacity assessment carried out?
I don't know, Shazad, I don't know.
So it wasn't carried out. I'm explaining to you. See, this is the fundamental problem here is this, that, look, we're talking about his money, we're talking about his access to GP services. All this becomes relevant when you establish that he lacks mental capacity. And the way that you've established that he lacks mental capacity is not through a capacity assessment. It's through buying off the judges. Because what's happened here is that in November, and you keep on tripping up as the local authority, because at the hearing in November 2022, when the housing association was taking us to make us homeless, I mentioned to the Judge Wilcox in court that there are ongoing court proceedings in relation to Talib. All right, the local authority accepted that there were ongoing court proceedings in November 2022. And so, therefore, the local authority instructed the judge, the housing association, and the judges to make a further capacity assessment for January 2023. All right, and so at that time, at the end of November 2022, there were ongoing court proceedings because you, the local authority, accepted that because the judge contacted you, or the courts contacted you, or the housing association contacted you regarding ongoing court proceedings. Now, miraculously, after the capacity assessment of January 2023 failed, you, the local authority, said the court proceedings are ended. There's no more court proceedings, and hence why everybody was waiting for the capacity assessment of January 2023 or of this year to go ahead so they can rubber stamp that it lacks mental capacity. That effectively failed, and now the courts are saying, well, the case is closed since May. We don't want to deal with this anymore. The GPs are saying that they don't want to deal with this anymore. But coming back to this question, Mr. Browell, we can't do anything. My brother Talib cannot authorize me to act on his behalf if you believe he lacks mental capacity. Now, I've got it confirmed that you, the local authority, believe that he lacks mental capacity because in last year, in 2022, I made a subject access request on his behalf, and that's what the local authority have said. We cannot comply with your SAR request on behalf of your brother because we believe that he lacks mental...
Let me call you back in 5 minutes. She's died. I've got an important phone call.
Okay, I'll wait. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Thank you. Nothing's getting resolved.